What's going on, Met fans? Dan and I are back with another post game as the Mets get rocked by the Rangers. We were both there. We both witnessed it, both there very early. But we had a lot of pregame that we spoke about what could happen today. And unfortunately, a lot of my personal predictions came through. Spoke to a couple of you guys, Met fans, on the side, including Dan prior to today's game. And I said my biggest fear, and I think it's going to happen, I think Jonah Tong's going to get rocked because let's be honest, this kid is simply not ready for the major league level. And it's not a fault of his own. It is the fault of the general manager and president of baseball operations, David Stearns. You knew at the deadline you didn't have enough pitching. And hell, even coming into the year, relying on guys like Frankie Montas to be healthy and then Sean Manaea to repeat what he did for 2 months, which he hasn't done his entire career. And then Griffin Canning, a guy who cleared waivers last year, who nobody wanted. You wanted these guys to come in and literally take over a team and be the frontline starters for this team, which more likely than not was not going to happen. So then you're forced to bring up these kids when they're not ready. Nolan McLean clearly is ready. We'll see what happens with Brandon Sproat. He's only made one start. We don't know if the league's going to catch up to him, but something that I addressed pregame with Dan today, I am scared that teams know that Jonah Tong cannot throw his secondary stuff 4 strikes, period. And that's been an issue since he's come up here, and now word's gotten around. So teams are sitting on that fastball. He's still a struggle controlling that. Even with his ridiculous arm angle, it's still, teams are going to make adjustments to it, and it simply has not worked for the Mets. Then you have Jacob Degrom. We're able to scratch 3 runs, but let's be honest, Dan, this game was over before it even started today. And that's the most frustrating part. The Mets fall for their 7th in a row, fighting for their lives. But unfortunately, it feels like the fans are fighting way more than this team. They're just going through the motions. I see some quotes after the game. Guys like Brandon Nimmo, when asked about how concerning this is right now, quote, obviously very concerned. We want to be in the playoffs. We're not playing playoff baseball right now. He says right now, we haven't played playoff baseball in months. You look at guys like Mark Vientos hitting sub 200 in the month of September. You're talking about 11 games. Francisco Lindor can't get on base. You saw Jonah Tong give up the lead very early, Dan. And then the top 3 guys go bing, bang, boom, done, non-competitive at-bats, going through the motions. Very frustrating being a Mets fan right now. And I don't know if I see this changing anytime soon. Texas, out of all the teams left, which Sleeper had a tweet about it early on, this is a team that the New York Mets must defeat. They must defeat. You have the San Diego Padres, who are also fighting for a division and a wild card, up after the Rangers, the crappy Nationals, but then you're playing another playoff team, and you're at Chicago Cubs before going to Miami, who, let's be real, we've struggled with them too. This team right now, if I were to sit here on September 12th, I would be a little surprised if we hold on to this, Dan.
A lot to digest, Ray. It was great to be with you at the game today. It was great to meet some fans. It was great to meet Sleeper himself. It was great to meet him in person. And listen, we thought we'd be treated to a good game today. We thought we'd be treated to a pitcher's duel. We saw Jacob Degrom in person for the first time since he departed in 2022 to the Texas Rangers. A lot to take in, a lot to digest, a lot to absorb. I think this week, a lot to take in, a lot to digest, and a lot to absorb. I want to open with a very touching thing, and we'll get to the Mets, of course, but I did want to make this known because I know Ray did a really good job over these past 2 nights, holding it down on Metcast as he normally does. Me personally took a step back. I knew Ray took a step back over these past couple of days because of what transpired over these past couple of days. Ray gave me a great shirt tonight. Gave me a Jesus One shirt. And I commend Ray. He's one of one. He's one of my best friends in this space. And Jesus won over these past couple days because take politics aside, take baseball aside. The world lost someone who just wanted to talk, right? Charlie Kirk. And again, politics aside, this is not what we're here to do. He was one of one. and he was someone who wanted to just talk. And I think here on Metcast, that's what we love to do, freedom of speech. We say things that, hey, maybe, sometimes a little rough
Mhm.
for people to understand. But again, we exercise our First Amendment every single day. And I think that's what Charlie Kirk did. And I do feel that he was someone who was innocent, someone who had, no matter how you felt about him, he was someone who, again, was someone who just wanted to debate. And it's unfortunate that we did lose someone too soon. 31 years old, 2 kids, a beautiful wife. And that's something that I did want to make sure that I mentioned because A, I didn't make sure that I had mentioned it over the past couple lives, but also I wasn't here to talk about it over these past couple lives. And it has been something that has affected me. My brother knew him. This is something that is tough. And it's something that I do think needs to be mentioned in the world that we live today. So divisive, right? This is something that time and time again we see. We live in a world of such division, and it is important to come together whenever we can and try to live in these moments and try to digest them as best we can. Because Ray called me the other day, and we talk very often, Ray, you know this. Things happen, deaths happen, whether it be personal, whether it be outside, whether it be anything. Things move on and people forget. When I lost my grandma, Ray, you've lost many people in your life as
Mhm.
well. A week later, people forget, people move on. Everyone's selfish, everyone's intrinsic. And I get it. We are too. But it's important to try to remember these things and make a note of them because give it 2 weeks, guys. People are going to forget about the passing of Charlie Kirk very quickly and move on to someone else that they could talk about and debate over. So I just want to make that point very clear that it's important to make those points known. But going to the Mets, tonight was a night again. We thought we'd be treated to something very special. We were treated to a 6-0 Mets deficit in the first inning. Right,
Mm.
Jonah Tong couldn't make it out of the first inning. He was at 40 pitches in the blink of an eye. And you're right, he's not ready for the big leagues. They threw him into the fire, and that's something that again, it's David Stearns. This is something that we talk about over and over. He needs to construct a better team. Brandon Sproat making his debut in the first week of September. That's not good. That's not a good reflection of the Mets, right? Same way if we called up Jet Williams. I mean, it would just be a panic button being pushed that I don't think needs to be pushed at this moment in time. It's concerning. This team is free falling. This team needs to be better. You were hearing boos at the ballpark. I don't think Ray and I partaked in those boos, but
No.
a lot of people did. And, I don't think we're booing Jonah Tong specifically, but we're booing the Mets. This product is awful. It wasn't a sellout crowd tonight, but, packed a couple 5,000, 10,000 more, maybe you do get a sellout. And I know that's a little bit reaching, but this team needs to be better. And we've said this so many times, and it feels like we've hit the point where, hey, I don't know if this team's going to get better. And you know what? This is an indictment. I spent over $100 parking, beers, food, and I know a lot of fans at home have dealt with the same. It's difficult, and I don't know when it ends, and maybe it just doesn't end. Maybe this team doesn't make the playoffs. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at this point. I've really reached that point, Ray, and I'm going to have my little rant here. I'll give you the floor, of course. It is frustrating. We believed in this team. We see the talent on the field. We know in our hearts that this team can go on a run and make the World Series and win the goddamn World Series. But we just haven't seen it. And time again, we look for someone to blame. We can blame the whole team. We can blame Francisco Lindor. We can blame Carlos Mendoza. We can blame David Stearns. We can blame Steve Cohen. At the end of the day, this Mets team as a collective is not good enough. And we saw that tonight.
Yeah, and you know what? I have some interesting quotes as you're talking, and you very well said. And I want to emphasize one thing, and I will drop it. Regardless if you think Charlie was evil or good, I'm not even. That's not what I'm partaking, and that was not my message as of yesterday. As you can see, look, I'm wearing the Jesus One shirt as well. We're a Christian-based podcast. If it was the left or the right, it's a terrible thing when and I listened to his wife's eulogy today because that's the Christian in me I try to be. And listening to her have to try to explain to a 3-year-old why daddy is never coming home when I have a little girl similar age and another one on the way, it's just utter heartbreak. So that's that's a big part of it,
and
and I'll leave it at that. I know some people are like, oh, like how could you? They didn't like his politics. I don't care about his politics. It's about being a human.
and
Talk with your words.
This is something too that a lot of we respect everybody in the community. We love the Mets community. We appreciate other podcasts, right? We're not, you guys are here listening to us, and we appreciate that from the bottom of our hearts. Other podcasts aren't going to talk about this. They're never going to bring it up. And that's the bottom line. And that speaks for society. People don't care. People move on with their lives. People don't want to be divisive. We're not here to be divisive either, but we're here to be good people at the end of the day. And this is what we're all about.
That's it. That's why we don't have sponsors, because nobody thinks they're like, stick to baseball.
That's right.
I'm like, no, thank you. But I have this from Ken Rosenthal, very interesting quote that he put out there. And he put this out as of this morning. And I'm reading it and I'm like, it's something that we've said, Dan, literally for months now. Quote, within the Mets' big stars, Soto, Lindor, Alonso, are viewed by those with the club as, quote, good people. They work hard and surely want to win as much as Harper, Schwarber, and Turner, but something appears off with this team. That's from Ken Rosenthal, something that we have spoken about for months. Why is this just coming to light now? Like, another baffling move, and it ended up working out. But you bring in Ryan Stanek to try to cool the waves, a guy who can implode at any second, but he's getting the job done. And then you yank him with 1 out to go. You bring in Gregory Soto, and one thing, Dan, we know about Gregory Soto: he is a 1-inning pitcher. Been that way his whole career. Don't ask him to come in, sit on the bench, cool off, and then go back out. And that's what they did. And it bit them in the rear end again. Something we've spoken out a billion times. Leave Stanek in there. I understand the lefties coming in. There's nobody on base. Like, that is something that we've spoken about, how mismanaged this bullpen has been all season long. And then we get to the starting pitching. I can't blame Mendoza for this starting pitching staff right now. He's got 3 rookies on a 5-man. I'm watching Kodai Senga in AAA tonight, and I'm monitoring Kodai Senga in AAA. Imagine, before the season starts, we're in spring training. We send our podcast down to spring training every year to cover the Mets live from spring training to try to give you guys the best insight. And if I was there, Dan, and we met and it's week 1, and I say, in September, Kodai Senga is going to be making starts in AAA, your first thought is he's coming back from injury, right?
Right.
But if I were to tell you, no, Manaea is going to be horrible, Montas is going to be out for the year, that's more believable than anything, because the guy's been a walking injury his entire career. But Kodai Senga is going to be making starts in AAA. I mean, and David Peterson, who's fighting like hell to get a new contract here, your top 3 or top 4, arguably, because Montas is being paid like a 2. Say you want him to be your 3 or 4, your 1, 2, 3, and 4 have all had terrible, terrible seasons. How can you blame Carlos Mendoza? You want to blame Hefner a little bit? Fine. The guy's been through 3 regimes here. He'd be one of the guys that I would be moving on from this offseason. What's transpired with this pitching staff and this bullpen this year is simply unacceptable for a $340 million plus payroll. Steve Cohen's got to be out there stewing right now, because I'll tell you one thing. He's relying on this playoff money to come in to help pay for this payroll. And if we miss, he loses out on millions. Millions. I know the Players Association, the players pretty much get games 1 through 4. But after that, that's where the owners clean up. Why do you think the Dodgers could have a high payroll year after year? Because when they're in the World Series, they're making more money. The concession stands, the parking. Dan, it's $40 to park your car, and I paid it a dozen times this year to support the team. I was 7 rows behind the Mets dugout myself today, watching, trying to see body language as the kind of fan that I am. I maybe look a little too much into it. I feel like this team's a little disheveled. We're just going to go through the motions. We're going to swing at every strike. We're not going to work counts. The only person that looks consistently engaged is Juan Soto. A little bit of the shuffle we saw today. I'll be honest with you. I was out getting my Pat LaFrida steak like I do every single game. Shout out to Pat LaFrida.
Yep.
Non-sponsored spot, by the way. And I'm in center field, and I could feel the breeze coming in from there. And I said, it's going to be very hard to hit one out. I'm telling you, that hard hit fly ball to deep right center that Soto hit on a regular day, that ball is out.
Yep.
The wind had a steady breeze coming in from right center. And look, they hit it, their balls out, but this game, like you said, Dan, it was over in the first, and I feel like we've been talking about that so much against the Phillies. Manaea giving it up right away. And I don't want to hear, one thing I can't stand is when Met fans sit there and say, well, the Mets, they're discouraged. Their starting pitching is giving it up early, so the bats aren't hitting. That is totally inexcusable. You have 3 players in 1, 2, 3 in this order who are in the top 5, if not number 1, Soto and Alonso, paid at their position in the history of baseball. You have to play well regardless. And now I want to bring up one other player. And I want to add his stats in from today. Another player that I'm actually very, very nervous about. And I don't think he'll be on this team next year. Probably the ultimate trade chip. And for some reason, they're not giving me it. Let's address Mark Vientos in the month of September. Because Mark Vientos is hitting right behind Nimmo in this lineup. Yeah, he had a hit today, 1 for 4. But on the month, 8 for 37. He is hitting just above 200, Dan. 2 home runs this month. And now we'll go to another player I want to address. Because I know there's no way he's having a good month because he has been terrible for the entire month of September, like the rest of the team. Brandon Nimmo today, Dan, let me explain something to you. He goes 0 for 4, right? 0 for 4. So that means Nimmo is 9 for 43 this month. His OPS is just over 450. 450. It is September 12th. Brandon Nimmo this month. 0 doubles, 0 triples, 0 home runs, 8 strikeouts, 0 stolen bases, and only 2 walks. Think about that. You're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 games into this month. 0 doubles, 0 triples, 0 home runs, 0 stolen bases, and only 2 walks. For a whopping, his on-base percentage this month is .256. And he's hitting 4th every single night. Doesn't matter what Juan Soto's doing getting on base. Doesn't matter if Francisco Lindor is slumping, because he's got to be called out too. But what are you going to do? Where's this team going to go? Where are they going to go for the spark plug? I see Brandon Nimmo postgame talking about, yeah, he's concerned. Everybody's concerned. Well, time to wake up. What do we wait? Dan, we got 15 games left?
Time's now.
And right now we're looking, the Giants are winning. We could wake up tomorrow, a half game lead? A half game when a month ago we're talking 5, 6, 7 game lead in the wild card? Heads need to roll. And listen, you make it to the playoffs, this could all change. You make it to the playoffs, you get by the wild card in division series. See if you'll probably end up facing Philly there because you're going to see the Dodgers in the first round. So if you see the Phillies there, hard-fought series, a lot of things can change. But if you miss, and that's a big but now it's no longer not a problem. It's probably a probability they're going to miss. Let's be real right now. I haven't looked at the other team's schedules. We could break that down tomorrow. I'm not here to break that down tonight. But this team, man, we keep saying something is missing. I don't want to hear it's Jose, Iglesias, OMG. I don't want to hear any of that stuff. This team does have veterans. We always talk, Dan, how this team lacks leadership. You have Marte. Pete's 30. Nimmo's in his 30s. These guys are veterans. Manaya's 33. Frankie Montas in his 30s. Senga in his 30s. Peterson in his 30s. It's not like we're the Miami Marlins where everybody's in their mid-20s and you want Juan Soto to come out and act like a leader. He is a leader on this team. He's probably the only one actually playing right now. I mean, I've been saying it for a while. We've been saying, oh, Lindor should be captain. I completely was wrong on that take. I got something to tell you, Dan. Lindor goes 1 for 4 today. Month of September. 7 for 38. He came in today hitting 176 in the most critical month. OPS is 650. So that means between Mark Vientos, Brandon Nimmo, and Francisco Lindor over the last 11 games, they're averaging 200. We came into this season, something you and I and the guys that we all met up with at the game spoke about. We thought Mark Vientos had 27 home runs. He's a 40 home run guy. 40 home run, 800 plus OPS. He'll be lucky to have an OPS of 700 this year. Major. And look, we keep saying Mark Vientos is going to be Pete Alonso's replacement. There's even Hoffman admitted, and shout out to the people that brought up that interview today. A lot of people enjoyed it. I'm glad to hear that. Hoffman agreed with me. There's no way Pete's coming back next year. Well, hell, Vientos is the backup option. We saw the Mets backup option. Dan, they told us in the spring when contract negotiations broke down with Pete Alonso, the first thing they did was told Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos to go work at first base. You might be looking at Mark Vientos next year as your first baseman going into the year with a 700 OPS. I don't know what kind of big trade Stearns could swing in the offseason. I don't know, but this team needs massive shakeups. I'm talking coaching staff, clean house if you miss the playoffs. You cannot go from 20 games over 500, 21 games over 500. We'll be lucky to get 500 this year or a game over. Simply unacceptable. So we'll get to Dan's comments and we'll get to your guys' comments in the comment section. Do us a favor, like this video. It's the best way to support the podcast. Turn your notifications on so you never miss when we go live. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, a lot to take in there. Up until June 12th, the Mets were 5.5 games up. They were 45-24, 21 games up, as you said, Ray. And then ever since, they've just been a mess. And this team has been inexplicable. I believe 31-48 since. That is unexcusable, unfathomable. These are numbers that make your spine chill. And it's not good. There's a lot to take in. I think a lot of it comes down to roster construction. Talked about Brandon Nimmo hitting 4th. Ideally, it's not 2020 Brandon Nimmo anymore with a 400 on base. This is a guy who really should be batting 5th at this point in his career. Mark Vientos has proven, hey, the power's not there. You're not a 40 home run guy. I think a lot of it is a sophomore slump, but a lot of it too is just too much swing and miss on Mark Vientos' part, where it goes deeper than just a sophomore slump. I do think it comes down to just maybe he's a 6 hitter, maybe he's a 7 hitter, and then that leaves the hole for who's the 4 hitter for the Mets. And I get times have changed where the 4 hitter isn't necessarily your big bopper, your big power guy, but it does help. And if you want to move Pete Alonso there, that's fine. But I do think moving forward, roster construction wise, if you can bring Pete back in a limited first base role, because we saw tonight too, just botched balls at first base.
Oh, what is Brosnan doing there, Dan? How are our guys still not covering first base? And then Alonso, what are you doing throwing that ball late?
It's crazy. and it speaks to who should be that four hitter. Maybe you could sell me on Ryan Clifford, the power that he possesses. You could have righty lefty all the way down with Soto 2. If you bring back Pete 3, Ryan Clifford 4, that's a far way away. That's 2026 conversation. The Mets don't have a four hitter right now, and that's the concern. And this lineup is not really deep. 5 through 9 is really a concern. Saw Jeff McNeil tonight get tossed out. That's tough. I mean, it's just time and time again, we keep getting reminded. And it really made me feel good that we saw the lineup today and we saw Brett Beatty playing third, starting at third. But once McNeil got ejected, hey, you need somebody to play third. And they
What do
didn't
you
put
think
Mark
about
Vianto.
that?
They put Mauricio in, which was good to see. So I get Mauricio wasn't an impact player tonight, but again, I love Brett Beatty. I really do. You could play this guy at second. You could play him at third. He is a staple moving forward for the Mets. He might not be an all-star player every year, but if he can get up to a 5 WAR, that really speaks to Brett Beatty and what he's become. So moving forward, there's a lot of holes that the Mets need to fill. We're not going to sugarcoat this. As much as I've said and tried to be positive, you guys know it. I think this is a World Series team, but we're just not seeing it. And the bullpen is really the concern. I mean, Stanek, Brazoban was, solid tonight. I like seeing him come in after Tong kind of got lit up. I said to my dad, who was sitting to the right of me for this, kind of half jokingly, but it might have been better for the Mets in the end. That's how crazy it's become. Reed Garrett looked awful tonight. Gregory Soto bouncing balls to the plate. Ryan Stanek's been a mess all year. And then I don't understand, and we've talked about this right just about a half an hour ago. Ryan Helsley coming into the game with hell's bells and the stadium goes dark. They do the whole light show.
Oh,
Steve Cohen, if you're
like
listening,
going
I know
to a
you're probably
funeral.
not. Steve Cohen, please stop playing hell's bells. The guy is not worth it. It's not the trumpets with Edwin Diaz. He does not deserve the same treatment. So for the final time, please stop doing that. It's really embarrassing for the fans that are there at the end of this game and have to endure that. But overall, there's too many holes to fill. There's no leader on this team. I love Francisco Lindor to death. I have multiple shirts of his. I really respect the guy as a player. But even tonight, we saw him botching just a routine ground ball. That's not a sign of a leader. We get all that. But we've seen time and time again, Francisco Lindor is not the leader of this team. And I don't know who is. There really is no leader of this team. In 2025, 2024 is a different story. Francisco Lindor was definitely the leader. We get all that. This year, there is no leader, and it's
I
very
didn't think he
concerning.
was last year. I think it got kind of a facade happened because Jose Iglesias came in and took over that locker room. That was not Francisco Lindor. Remember, Lindor got off to a terrible start. They were 11 games under 500 with Francisco Lindor being terrible. So I think that's something we got to take into consideration. I think a lot of that got, waved around. And some people say, oh, Pete Alonso could be the captain. I don't see it. I don't see Pete, I don't see Pete really changing much in regard to captaincy. But we're going to get to some of your guys' questions and comments right now.
Brandon
Not
Nimmo,
a ton.
real quick before we get to Brandon Nimmo, I was sitting right behind you all game. Love you to death, my favorite Met. Can you learn how to play left field a little bit better? Letting that ball fall in front of you in the beginning of the game, falling back on the warning track, stumbling. I mean, he caught the ball, but Brandon Nimmo,
hurt?
I hope not. I don't think so, but I wouldn't be surprised. Who knows?
Shout out to Jacob Reimer, the Mets' 7th overall prospect, another power hitting bat. Walks it off for the Ponies, the 3rd time this series for the Ponies tonight. Pretty cool to see. Always love when the kids are doing well. We'll start off with YouTube user. I feel punked for believing a team with Jeff McNeil and Cedric Mullins would do anything. Actually, McNeil's been one of our more consistent guys. Mullins, yeah, you could definitely argue.
Nice hit tonight by Mullins, but didn't really make a difference. Yeah, it's crazy. It's been awful.
Jason says it hurts to say, but I think the best thing that could happen to this Mets is don't make the playoffs this year. Only reason I say this is because I think that's the only way Cohen will realize this team needs serious changes. We have talent, but something is wrong with how this team operates. Let's hope for a positive 2026. I've seen that take from a lot of Mets fans lately, Dan.
Yeah, it feels like we're giving up. And that's my final plea to you guys, right? What did Tug McGraw tell us in 1973? He didn't tell us. I wasn't alive. Neither was Ray. But you got to believe, right? And again, this team, I sound like Carlos Mendoza. I know. But This team is too talented. And if they can sneak into the postseason by the skin of their teeth, anything can happen.
Andre says, I know one thing. I followed Cohen from the hedge fund days. I would not want to be Stearns going into Cohen's office if this collapse happens. That's a good point. Dan says, just think of Drew Gilbert sparking the Giants making the playoffs over the Mets. What a disaster. Stearns and Mendoza both need to be fired. I keep saying it. Stearns ain't going anywhere. Mendoza, yeah, I could see that.
I think Mendy's going to be back no matter what.
If they lose out and are under 500, you think Mendoza's back?
I do.
That's a hot take.
I don't think
Madeline says, what a complete disaster. Absolutely. Danny chimes in. I ask myself when I watch this offense not hitting fastballs, what is going on in their heads? I agree. I feel the same. Dan, I never seen a team full of supposed all-stars. They can't hit a high fastball. It doesn't make sense.
Frustrating.
We'll get to a couple more before we sign off for tonight, guys. BG the Kid, Nimmo is going to be gone next year. No, he will not. 5 years, $100+ million on that contract. Nobody's taking that. Peter says, do they even like each other? Genuine question. Is there a click in the locker room? And that's what leads me to my next question from George. Could it be some of the guys are jealous of Soto getting all that money? I'm not totally sure about that. I heard that brought up several times, but clearly there's something off in the locker room. You don't think so, Dan?
Yeah, it could be. I haven't been in the locker room in a couple. And speak to that. I wouldn't think that there's a problem in the locker room, but again, behind closed doors, who knows? We've talked about this. I don't think Lindor and Soto like each other. I don't think Soto and Pete like each other, but they play together. They're coworkers, and at the end of the day, that shouldn't be a talking point.
Yeah.
Derek Jeter hated Alex Rodriguez, and they won multiple world championships together. So I think it's just a lot of fan fiction at the end of the day, Ray, between you and I.
I agree. Here we go. We'll finish off with Elliot. Too much happiness and smiling going around by the team during the past few months. What is so funny about what's there to be happy about with this season? Something a lot of fans take. Look, Lindor's got that nervous laugh. We've all known about it for a while, but look, it can get very frustrating. Striking out, laughing it up with the catcher. It's like, you want a rivalry. It doesn't feel like they care. It's almost as if it's like a union member. Some of you guys might be in unions. You know, if you're the hardworking guy, the guy in the next aisle over may not work as hard, but he's going to get his paycheck no matter what. And maybe that's some of the hard feelings that are going around that clubhouse. Soto's young. From some reports that I've heard from other people, he's a little immature with some things. Which what 25-year-old isn't. Being 26, he's got to learn to become a leader. Maybe not take so many at-bats for granted. I don't know. But, Mark, there's a reason why people say, oh, it's not a shot at Lindor. I get it. But you could also look at it from the other perspective. When asked who is the captain of this team or the leader of this team, he said Starling Marte. And everybody in the press was looking for him to say Lindor. So it's clearly not that way. I mean, we all seen it. Soto, and I'm not saying Lindor doesn't have this. It's a different type of personality trait, which obviously could work because it has worked in the past. But Soto's got that killer instinct. You saw when he stepped in the plate against Degrom, he had a different look to him. He shuffled today, something we haven't seen in forever. Stepping up in those spots. And I'm not totally sure, Lindor's not obviously of the talent of Soto. And I'm wondering if, think about it. Juan Soto goes to the Yankees. Aaron Judge is still the best player. Everybody knows who's the best player there. For 4 or 5 years, all we've been saying is how great Pete and Lindor have been. Lindor came in when, Pete was already behind his rookie year and everything. Then Soto comes in and they're put on the back burner. You look around the ballpark, if you're Lindor and Pete, what do you see? You see Soto shirts and Soto jerseys. The Soto fan fest. Amazing day. Where's Soto? Where's Soto? Where's Soto? Spring training. Everybody's there. Soto, 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 Soto. It was never like that. I go there every single year, as I said earlier. We cover spring training every single year. We fly down there and cover them. And every year I've been there, it's Pete, Lindor, Degrom when he was here, any of those other pitchers, even Minaya a little this season. But this year, 99% Soto. So I wonder if it runs some of the guys the wrong way, Dan.
It could. He's the $765 million man. He is the talk of the town. He is the face of the Mets. And a lot of people say, Dan, you're crazy. What do you mean? Lindor is the face of the Mets. Pete, the face of the Mets.
No.
It's not the case anymore, guys. It's just not.
Yeah, if you have one at-bat and one player to choose to be up, we all know who it would be. That's all we got for you guys tonight. Make sure you smash that like button, hit the subscribe, turn those notifications on as I am exhausted. It is now past 12 o'clock. We try to bring you the post-game or content every single day, as much as possible at least. But damn, Dan, can we please get a win tomorrow?
Please, Ray. On Alumni Day, please.
That's right. All right, everybody. Let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets, everybody.
Peace.